folks out there in virtual land. My computer is loading, so I'm waiting for a second to make sure you all are with me. Okay, great. Hi, everyone. My name is Candace Bond-Theriault, and I am the Senior Policy Counsel for Reproductive Health, Rights, and Justice at the National LGBTQ Task Force, and I use she and her pronouns. And I am so excited to be here with you all today to queer the census, 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 yes. So I am streaming to you on Facebook Live from my kitchen table in Virginia because we, as many of you are, under a shelter-in-place or stay-at-home order directive from our governor. And this is a great time to collaborate because we're all here, we're all doing our thing, and it's a time to connect with all of you all virtually and to lean into some digital organizing and digital advocacy. So I'm really excited to be with you all because it is Census Day, Census Day, Census Day. You may have noticed because social media has really been talking about the census, at least my social media has been talking about the census today, but if you didn't know, now you know. April 1st, it's Census Day, and it's just a big kickoff day for making sure that people sign up for the census and sign and fill out their questionnaire so you can be counted, so you can be you, be counted. And I'm so excited to be partnering with some really amazing reproductive health rights and justice organizations like Color and Sister Song to bring to you a little bit of why our organizations are really showing up for the census. So the hashtag is hashtag RJtheCensus, and the National LGBTQ Task Force is also engaging in the census advocacy and Census Day, and our hashtag is hashtag QueerTheCensus. So I'm sitting here at my kitchen table because this is a real kitchen table conversation, right? So I'm gonna get more intimate with you all and get into this, why we really are talking about the census. Like, what is this thing that people keep talking about? Well, as an elder millennial, as I personally identify, I did not fill out the census 10 years ago because I was still living at home and my parents filled out the census for me. But now I am fortunate enough to have my own place. And so it's on me to fill out the census. And so today we're really just talking about what it is. So what it is, it's a survey that the federal government sends around every 10 years to really count, like literally count, the number of people who reside in the United States of America. And while that seems like super random and maybe just unimportant, it's incredibly important because counting people is what determines where the money goes. And where the money goes is what's really important because the count from the census determines money that goes to really important programs that we care about, like SNAP and public housing and Medicaid and Medicare benefits, as well as things like public schooling, making sure that schools, even if some schools seem unequal or are fundamentally separate but equal, but unequal, it's making sure that our schools actually get the adequate funding that they need. And it's a reproductive justice issue, right? Because making sure that our Black and brown kids have schools and have systems and, things like books and internet access and all the things that more privileged areas need, a lot of that comes down to the census and how we're counting and who we're counting. So I've been doing a little census chat all day alone at my house. So I'm going to ask you to chant with me, right? Because why not? Because we're activists and advocates, and maybe we haven't gotten to be in person at a rally in a while since we've kind of been social distancing. But I'm going to say, who counts? And you say, I count. So, okay. Who counts? I count. Who counts? I count. Who counts? We count. Who counts? We count. Yes. So let's just get in there. So other things that the census funds are community health clinics and other HIV prevention treatment programs and homelessness housing insecurity programs and a lot of things that LGBTQ people need, people of color need, and even more particularly LGBTQ people of color who are low or no income really need these really crucial services. So it's important that you get out there and make sure that you're counted for the census. What also happens is the census is used by the government and to make sure that elected officials are representing roughly the same number of people. So that gets into drawing district lines for federal Congress and getting into more election law and voting rights. But needless to say, what makes that the most important thing is making sure you're counted so that your district isn't overly packed or there aren't, tons of people that aren't being counted. And then it looks like you have a smaller number of people in your district, but you really don't. Or, other more wealthier populations are being overcounted. So they're getting even more money and more representation in federal Congress than they really should be. So making sure that you get out the count really is an equitable reproductive justice thing and action that we can all take. So you're like, the census seems cool, right? The census seems like a thing I should do. It seems like a civic engagement tool, but should I really fill it out? Is it really important? And the answer is yes, it is. And why? Another reason, not only is it used for determining government funds and determining district lines, but it's also a tool that we as activists and advocates can actually use in order to point to data that suggests what our community is actually experiencing and actually going through. Let me give you an example. So I'm really privileged in my job at the National LGBTQ Task Force that I get to work with policymakers and politicians and other amazing organizers at other organizations to partner with, lobbying, going to the Hill, doing all these amazing things. But one of the questions that I always get is, well, where's the data? So you say such and such population, you say that the LGBTQ population or people of color are more oppressed because of X, Y, and Z, but where are the numbers? People on the Hill and policymakers are really into that hard data that they can bring back to their other, co-members and say, look, this is a real issue. We have hard numbers. And the census can actually do that. It can provide us with these hard numbers that we really need to ensure that our folks, our communities, our families actually get what we need and ensure that our communities are as safe as possible, right? And what that means on our terms. So we as activists and advocates also use the census for that really crucial data that only, the census is able to provide. So that's one reason. If it didn't, if you weren't convinced already, that's another great reason. And it's just such a tool that we can use for our advantage. But unfortunately, as it has stood, since the first census was done in the United States, is that not everyone gets counted. And there are a myriad of reasons that are given. But what we can do is make sure we are counted. We can go out and make sure that we go to the website that I will give to you later to make sure that we are counted. We can go to queerthecensus.org to make sure we get information about how to fill out a questionnaire and how to get counted. So we can do that work. And, every decade, the census misses or undercounts hundreds of thousands of marginalized people, including people of color, low-income people, people with disabilities, people that look like you and me, all of us, right? All of our people are often undercounted. And at the same time, people who don't look like me, people who are more privileged, more white, more wealthy, are getting overcounted. And that really just creates an inequitable distribution of resources that really hits hard and hits our communities really hard. So why is the task force involved in this? The task force is involved because this really matters. This is a kitchen table issue. It's an issue that, the census count is going to help distribute resources for the next 10 years. That's a long time. A lot of us will age, 10 years, we're going to there'll be a new generation coming, right? And so people often ask us, so does the census allow you to include information about sexual orientation and gender identity? And the answer is no. Explicitly, it does not ask about sexual orientation or gender identity, but however, it does allow for you to respond as a same-sex married or partnered couple, which of course leaves out a ton of folks in our community. It leaves out folks like me, bisexual folks who are married to whether it's a same or different sex partner. It still leaves us out. It leaves out homeless LGBTQ people. It leaves out trans and gender nonconforming people. It's not the best. And we have a lot of work to do, but it's still important to make sure that the LGBTQ community, particularly people of color and low income and no income people of color, fill out the census. Because of three reasons. One, to get access to those federal funds for programs like Medicaid and SNAP and community health centers. Two, to have representation in local, state, and federal government. And three, to enforce our civil rights, because those numbers really do matter. So what's the National LGBTQ Task Force doing to queer the census, you ask? That's such a great question. I'm so grateful that you asked me. So we launched hashtag #QueerTheCensus, which is an amazing campaign that is organizational wide, that ensures that LGBTQ folks are counted in the census. And we've done in partnership with organizations through the National LGBTQ Census Coalition. We are hosting a series of webinars and census webinars that are designed for organizational staff, especially now that staff are more likely to be teleworking or working at home. It's another way to really get involved and do some action in really important advocacy while you're at your kitchen table. We also are holding census virtual office hours, which one of our amazing organizers, Victoria Kim, put together, where you can call in and ask us questions about what does this mean? What does that mean? If you need help to fill out your census, we can do that. We can provide that. So just go to queerthecensus.org and you'll get that information. And then lastly, we're doing virtual phone banks that we're going to ask folks like you to sign up for, to make sure that we can call people and make sure that our people are really signing up and really filling out the census. So the last thing, and most importantly, the thing that I want for you all to do, myself included, with my census sitting right here, is to fill out your census. And you can do that a couple different ways, but if you fill it out online, that's one of the quickest, easiest ways. And you can do so by going to my2020census.gov and start the questionnaire and start filling it out, making sure that you count yourself, you count everyone in your household, you count kids, you count everyone. And again, you can fill out your census today on National Census Day by going to my2020census.gov. And then once you fill out your census, as I will fill out my census after this chat, I will make sure that I fill out my personal census, and then make sure that you call 5 friends and make sure that they're filling out their census. And finally, if you want to engage in some social media with us, just use the hashtag RJtheCensus or hashtag #QueerTheCensus, and some of us will be able to retweet some of the tweets that you send out, or like your page. And this is all about togetherness and community and love, and we just want to make sure that our people are accounted for. And so it's really important that we all do our work and go on and fill out that census today, because it really matters for folks just like you and me and my family. And so I'm going to fill mine out, and I hope that you do too. And just remember to be you, be counted, fill out that census. Thanks, y'all. Bye.